On today's Know Your Rights segment, Catherine Stone from Barbas Law is back to give us more tips on Social Security disability. Catherine, I have learned so much from you already, the good, the bad, the ugly. I mean, this is a process that people need to know about.
It is a very lengthy process, as we talked about in the last segment, about how long it can take. One of the ways that I see oftentimes people initially when they come to me, they've gotten denied because their paperwork. So once you've filed that application for Social Security disability, whether you're in the first application process or you're at the request for reconsideration stage or you're in the appeals process, Social Security starts sending you a lot of forms to fill out. Forms about your prior jobs, forms about your medical condition, what effects your medical condition have on your inability to do your prior jobs, pain questionnaires. And what I see oftentimes is clients will have filled out those forms. They either don't answer all the questions because they don't understand how to answer the question, or they don't think that it's applicable, or they will tell me, well, I didn't really know how to answer that, so I just didn't answer it. Or they answered it, but they didn't answer it in enough detail. So the paperwork, and I tell all the clients that come through our office that are applying for Social Security disability, and you will have usually a 10-day window to get that paperwork, complete it, and return it back to Social Security. Okay. And if they don't see you returning that paperwork, they'll just go ahead and deny you. So paperwork is a huge part of Social Security disability. So when you get that paperwork, you need to go through it with a fine-tooth comb. Don't leave any question unanswered. Make sure when it asks you what you can't do, you tell them down to not being able to, look at your fingernail. I mean, you've got to be very, very specific with them for them to be able to do a complete evaluation. Otherwise, they're going to see there's not enough information there, and they're just going to deny you, and you're still going to be in this long, drawn-out process.
The thing that I'm learning is the paperwork, the process, it's very intimidating, and people are already going through so much with their injury to get disability in the first place. How important is having someone on your team just for the guidance aspect, just for the help with the paperwork?
Well, I mean, the paperwork, I usually tell my clients, get the paperwork, try to fill it out to the best of your ability. Do not submit it back to Social Security without me reviewing it. And a lot of times they'll send me the paperwork, or they'll come back into the office and we'll sit down and we'll go through the paperwork. And I just sent one back last week to a client. He hadn't filled out what specifically he did at prior jobs. He just put down managed. Well, managed what? How much did he lift? How often was he on his feet? And even though he said, well, I don't know how to explain that. And so I literally sat on the phone with him for an hour going through each question and having him stop and think about, tell me what your day was like. And then let's go through these questions. So again, having someone understanding what the question is asking, and in hopes of it giving Social Security a bigger picture as to why you can't return to work.
Well, and we're running out of time, but I want to ask really quick too, medical paperwork, I'm sure that can be just as difficult.
Again, the medical documentation from the doctors. A lot of times your doctors, especially if you're not on workers' comp or you're not treating for an accident, they're not addressing what your restrictions are. And if Social Security doesn't see you have restrictions, again, I'm talking more about people who have had some type of back injury. I'm not necessarily talking about people with diseases. Okay. Those are pretty much, once you have the diagnosis, then that paperwork's there. But it's really the ones with restrictions that preclude them from going back to work.
Well, bottom line is get someone on your team to help, and Catherine and her team, just the folks to do it. So if you have questions about your rights, well, all you have to do is give them a call, 1-800-BARBAS-LAW, or even check out their website, barbaslaw.com/knowyourrights. Thanks, Catherine.